What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Room along with Tyler Stafford. And Tyler, we are 10 days away from opening day. Can you believe it?
I cannot. It's quick, but also I'm ready. Let's get this thing rolling.
I think there's a lot of people that are ready, judging by how these Grapefruit League games are being played. I think the regulars are very ready to go against someone else in games that matter. I think there's a lot of people that are ready to kind of move on, and that spring training is way too long. We did find out today, we're recording this on Sunday night, in the biggest shock to hit Astros baseball in many years. Framber Valdez is going to start on opening day against the Mets. Tyler, I know you are stunned by this news. I'm going to give you a couple. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to collect your thoughts.
Congrats on that scoop. Way to go.
Yeah, huge scoop.
Yeah.
That this is going to get me the promotion I so desire. I'm going to become a national insider because I knew from the beginning that Framber Valdez was going to start on opening day for the Astros. But in all seriousness, I think when we knew this was coming, foregone conclusion. But I think whenever we shouldn't take for granted the rise that Framber Valdez has had in this organization. I mean, Tyler, I don't know if you remember when he came up, like in 2019, like he was unpitchable.
Yeah.
They kept him on the big league roster solely so he could like eat up innings in games that they were winning by a lot of runs or losing by a lot of runs. The maddest I think I ever saw AJ Hinch in his managerial tenure of the Astros was after a game in Anaheim in 2019, where Framber just went out there and got absolutely lit up. And some poor reporter was filling in for a beat writer that didn't travel. And they asked AJ after the game, like, what this experience could do for Framber when he gets another chance in the rotation. And AJ just responded with, "I don't know if he's going to get another chance." Was as curt as he could be. And AJ's a very nice man, but you could tell he had had enough. And now this is a guy that this is going to be his fourth consecutive opening day start, the most consecutive opening day starts in Astros history by a left-handed pitcher. This is a guy that has come such a long way. And to think of him now as just this sure thing, this ace atop the rotation, it's pretty remarkable to see his trajectory and where he's come from and where he is at now.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you kind of take it for granted, but like, there are lots of teams announcing their opening day starters that you don't necessarily feel nearly as good as Framber. I did laugh at. Did you see the Pirates video? That was like we filmed telling Paul Skeens that he was going to be the opening day starter, and everyone was like, "Yeah, who else? What are you talking about? Why was there this?" Imagine if the Astros posted like an emotional video showing them telling Framber that he was going to be the opening day starter.
It's a video that really could have been an email. They could have
Yeah,
just emailed
sure.
Paul Skeens or Livy Dunn, whoever answers Paul Skeens' emails at this point. Email one of them and let them know that Paul Skeens is going to start an opening day. You mentioned that there are teams that are announcing their opening day starters that don't feel as confident. Look at who Framber Valdez will oppose on opening day. Clay Holmes is the Mets opening day starter. Clay Holmes
Is
is
that
not.
true?
Yes, Clay Holmes.
Clay Holmes?
Clay Holmes has not started a Major League Baseball game in 8 years.
That rules. What?
I mean, it's look, they've had to have a lot of stuff go wrong. Frankie Montas and Sean Manaea are hurt. Kodai Senga is an enigma. And so now, yeah, the Yankees closer of the past 4 years is going to start opposite Framber Valdez on opening day. So again, I think Astros fans honestly should not take this for granted that you have come into camp, that you knew who your opening day starter it was from day one of camp, that your opening day starter did not get hurt during camp, and that he will take the mound on opening day. Tyler, I think this is going to be a very obvious question, but we both believe that this is going to be the last opening day start for Framber Valdez, correct? As an Astros
uniform. Yeah. He's gonna. Yeah, I mean, as we've talked about, there's no way that the Astros pay him what he's going to be able to command on the open market. And so, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it. He's a fun pitcher to watch. He's one of those that it's always interesting, even when it's bad. there's always just something fun about watching Framber pitch. Very aesthetically pleasing pitch mix too. Everything moves so much that it's just a lot of fun to watch. And so, yeah, I'm going to enjoy it.
It's been fun to watch him. Like, he used to get so emotional after, missed strike calls or like ground balls that don't get fielded behind him. He used to be so demonstrative in showing his emotions, and he really has done a better job of reining that in. But it is funny to watch him like catch himself reining them in, like when an umpire squeezes him, or like when there's not a play made behind him, or like some little ground ball has eyes and trickles through the infield. Like, you'll see him want to get mad, and then he'll just catch himself, and you'll see him smile. And I know a lot of people have wondered why that is, but as has been written and talked about extensively, Framber has worked a lot with Dr. Andy Nunez, who's the Astros team sports psychologist based in the Dominican Republic, and that's part of their lessons, and that's part of treatment's not the right word, but that's part of kind of their procedure of how they tone themselves down, is to kind of take a deep breath and smile a little bit. And so when you see Framber smiling while things are going haywire around him, it's not because he's enjoying it. It's because that's kind of how he's been taught to handle his emotions. And Tyler, I think this is a guy that, as we've said, like, he has come a long way since 2018, 2019, when he first came up. I think you can see a change very clearly in him as far emotions wise. Like, yeah, some innings will still snowball on him. There's some stuff he does that is still pretty maddening to fans, to even some people in the Astros organization. But by and large, this guy has found a way to control his emotions, control himself, and become one of the most, like you said, he's a fun pitcher to watch pitch. And you don't say that about a lot of pitchers because they just kind of make it look pretty boring. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we've been saying. I mean, he's grown a ton. I mean, it used to be like, if the other team gets a couple of hits in a row, Framber might spiral, and those really happen pretty rarely now. And even when they do, he seems to be able to kind of, keep it in one inning and not let it get out of hand. But yeah, good for him. Congrats, and let's get opening day here. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, me too. He will face a very formidable lineup on opening day with Juan Soto, pretty good player. Have you heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty good player. He will face Juan Soto, Mark Vientos, Pete Alonso, Brett Beatty. Very good Mets lineup. As far as who is playing behind Framber, that is a little more open-ended. There's still some roster battles. Some guys are really doing a nice job of making this a difficult decision for the Astros of who to carry on their opening day roster. And Joe Espada had some interesting thoughts. We're recording this on Sunday night. He had some interesting thoughts today, kind of about how they're going to make those decisions about who they carry. And we'll talk about that right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
FT fam, Arena Club is the modern way to collect cards or buy or sell or trade or even grade. And we're highlighting slab packs because this is the new way to rip open a pack and get a really good card, AJ. But also, if you're not into the card, like I know you pulled a Bob Gibson card recently, you can get an offer of 90% of the estimated value and just accept it on the spot and give it right back and maybe try again with another slab pack.
I ain't getting rid of my Bob Gibson autograph card. Bob Gibson ain't signing cards anytime soon, so I'm keeping this one. It gets graded for you. There's no mess. The only thing I wish they had bubble gum. Can they virtually send me some bubble gum, Scott? Other than that, it's awesome. You can buy, sell cards. They grade them instantly for you. And physically, you can also get the cards if you want them. So I'm all for this. This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, those cards are in your showroom in the app. And then, of course, you can get the card physically sent to you. So right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL. Code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase.
All right, Tyler. This week in Grapefruit League play, we finally have gotten to see Jose Altuve get some pretty legitimate tests in left field. He still hasn't had a ton of balls hit to him, but there were two this week that kind of made headlines, one for more unsavory reasons than the other. Against the Cardinals earlier this week, Ivan Herrera hit a fly ball to left field. Jose Altuve tracked it back, got to the wall, was feeling for the wall, didn't really know where it was, mistimed his jump. The ball bounced behind him, and it was ruled a triple correctly because he never got his glove on it. But that is a play that I'm not going to say it was routine, but it's a play that most major league outfielders make. And then on Sunday in Port St. Lucie, the first batter of the game, Francisco Lindor, sent a very well struck ball into the left center field gap. Jose Altuve made a great read on it, ran, caught it over his left shoulder on the warning track. Again, not one of these plays he had to dive for, but a play that he had to get to the right spot. He had to read it very quickly. This ball was hit very hard off the bat. Was a routine play, but certainly was not one that you just take for granted. Now that we have seen some of these tests, I don't want to make too much out of two plays, but it's really all we have to go on until we see this in live action. Tyler, I presume you saw the play that we're talking about against the Cardinals. That's the one that's getting all the run. Is he didn't time his jump well. A lot of people are wondering why he didn't do anything after the play. He just kind of stood there and froze. Did that make you a little more nervous about putting Jose Altuve out in left field, or are you happy that this is happening now in the middle of March, as opposed to this happening in, I don't know, the middle of June or July when the games actually matter?
Well, it's definitely going to happen in the middle of June and July as well. I mean, Altuve's probably seen like 30 balls hit like that in his lifetime, like he needs to see more of those. And I mean, do you remember, was it Marcelo Zuna a couple years ago that had the one that he was running in left field and he like tried to climb up the fence to catch, and then it landed like on the warning track and he just kind of falls on the ground? Have you seen that before? It's amazing. He'd been playing the outfield his whole life. So, Altuve is going to make some silly plays. The thing that was the scariest for me was the routine plays, and is he going to be able to get to enough balls? Is he going to have the range for him? And that Lindor one, like you said, he had to run a long way. He had to make a really athletic catch, a good read on it. And those are going to be the ones that happen more often than the ones that, land a foot in front of the wall. I mean, you're going to see a handful of those a year anyway. And at Dyken Park, it doesn't matter anyway. You're not going to be jumping at the left field wall. So I'm not too concerned about that. You know what you're getting, throwing a 35-year-old guy who's never played outfield in left field. It's not going to look pretty for a little bit, but as long as he can continue to hit and can make the routine plays, the Astros are going to be okay with it.
And a couple of things about that Cardinals ball that he missed, that, just talking to people, people that know more than I do about what's going on, about kind of the machinations of that play and kind of some things about it that kind of show that why they think this is going to be beneficial long-term. For one, Jose Altuve got to his spot. This was not a situation where he took a bad route. This is not a situation where he didn't know where the ball was. Like, he got to the right spot, but from what I understand, and you can see it in the replay, he's feeling for the wall with his right hand, and he didn't know where the wall was. And that's something you don't know unless you're out there playing every day, unless you get those reps. And from what I understand too, if he figures out where the wall is and gets there, he doesn't even have to jump for that ball. Yeah. If he's in the right position where he knows where the wall is, that's just an easy catch. You camp under it and you catch that ball.
Yeah, and I'm okay with him not running into a wall in spring training. I'm okay with a triple if it means he's not just slamming his shoulder into the wall.
And another thing, I heard as well, it bothered him. It bothered him that he didn't make that catch. You saw right after the inning, he was talking with Jake Myers a lot as they were running into the dugout. He got to the dugout, immediately started talking to Dave Clark, the first base coach, who has really kind of been Altuve's personal outfield coach throughout this whole thing. And it sounds like it bothered him, which to me is a good thing, because like, as we've talked about him here, like Altuve this is motivating him. Like, he is energized by this, and he is like trying very, very hard to be the best left fielder he can be. Now that we thought he wasn't going to do that, but he's trying to prove people wrong to an extent. Because I mean, look, as much as we think these guys don't read stuff, as much as we think these guys are insulated, they're not. Like, Jose Altuve probably sees what everyone thinks, that what everyone's saying, that this is going to go terribly, that he's too short, that he can't do it. And he is out here to prove people wrong. And this is energizing him in a way that he hasn't been energized in a while. And I think that this is a good sign for them, that he is, again, they want him to catch the ball. Obviously that would be the best sign. But the fact that this is something that is making him this is driving him. This is something that's eating at him, and that he wants to be out there. That's only going to make him better, because, if you talk to anyone about Jose Altuve, like, the athleticism is off the charts. The baseball awareness and the baseball IQ doesn't get as much credit as it deserves, mainly because he's not a great base runner, and everyone kind of thinks he doesn't have a great baseball IQ, but he does. And he's really aware on the field and can really do some things that a lot of people don't give him credit for. And I think you're starting to see that. And it's as easy as it's going to take reps, and it's going to take being out there. And look, this may not look great in April and May, but the Astros are going to have to, kind of live with that, because we're 10 days out from opening day, and he's played one spring training game at second base, Tyler. This is no longer just, like, at some point, like, they'll move him back. Like, this he's going to play primarily left field this season. And I don't need, I'm sure at some point Joe Espada or someone will say that outright, but if you have two eyes and a working brain and can have any comprehension of what's going on, you kind of understand this is the way this is going.
I don't play fantasy baseball, but I feel like with the position change, is he going to have like a Taysom Hill style thing where everybody drafts him because he's like tight end eligible? Like, is him playing left field, is that going to like make him more fun in fantasy? I don't know. I've never played it. I'm in one this year. We're gonna find out how that goes.
I would roster him because he hits. Did you know he can hit? Did you know he's a good hitter? He's a good hitter.
I've heard about that.
As far as
the lineup today looked pretty good. That looks like an opening day lineup to me.
Yeah, and did you see who was in right field?
I sure did. That's why I say it looks like an opening day lineup to me.
That's an interesting point that you bring up, because there continues to be buzz about, can Cam Smith make the Astros opening day roster? And I want to present something here that is going to maybe contextualize what Cam Smith has done in spring training so far. So for those of you not watching on YouTube, I will read it out loud. It's from today. Cam Smith homered today off Tyler McGill, who is going to actually will open the season in the Mets rotation. It's a bona fide big league player. Coming into today, Cam Smith, before the home run, Cam Smith's the pitchers that Cam Smith had faced in Grapefruit League play had accumulated a 6.7 opponent's quality, according to Baseball Reference. Now, that is a metric that Baseball Reference uses to look at what type of pitching is these hitters are facing in spring training. By that metric, 10 is equal to MLB level pitching, 8 is equal to AAA pitching, 7 is equal to AA pitching. Now, Cam Smith had 6.7 entering today, which means he was feasting on below AA level pitching, which for someone of his caliber, he should be doing. We are going to learn a lot more, I believe, this week about how ready Cam Smith could be to contribute at the opening day level, at the major league level, because we're at the point in spring training where you're not seeing A-ball kids anymore. You're not seeing AA kids anymore. The major league starters are going 5 and 6 innings. The relievers that are coming in are guys that are either on the fringe of making an opening day roster or are already on an opening day roster. He is going to face nothing but major league arms basically from here on out. And Joe Espada today, after the game, unprompted, brought up how encouraging it was for Cam Smith to hit a home run off of a major league pitcher. He didn't say a major league, he said Tyler McGill, but we're going to learn a lot more this week about Cam Smith's offensive skill set. And I wonder, but it is worth wondering whether it even matters, because something else Joe Espada said today. He is not changing his philosophy about prospects and player development. And his philosophy is, if he's going to carry a prospect on the opening day roster, they are playing every day. Tyler, there's not an avenue for Cam Smith to play every day on the opening day roster unless the Astros do something that would be unforeseen, and that is to cut ties or to send Chas McCormick to the minor leagues, because Chas McCormick does have options remaining. It would be because he hasn't been optioned. He came up in 2020. He debuted in 2020 in the playoffs. Made the opening day
brutal to be back in the minors. Oh,
right. So it's a fascinating conundrum, because as bad as Chas McCormick was last season, and he was bad. Do not misunderstand me. Do not misconstrue that. In almost 1,200 major league plate appearances before last season, Chas McCormick had a career 117 OPS plus. He was a well above average major league hitter for a large representative sample size before last season. It's still in there. Like, it didn't just disappear. And that sort of track record, in my opinion, warrants some benefit of the doubt that you got to give him a chance to, and I don't know how long the leash is. Joe Espada's already said that the leash is not going to be particularly long for Chas McCormick this year. I don't know how long it is, but Tyler, it seems to me that it would be difficult to carry Cam Smith on the opening day roster if that is going to, if the intention is he has to play every day, and right field is the only place he can play every day. For a number of reasons, it doesn't make a ton of sense to carry him. A, he's never played right field in his life. And B, as we just talked about, Chas McCormick, while it has not been a great 13 months for him, there is still a large enough and representative enough sample size that this guy deserves at least a chance to see if he can turn it around.
I have a thought. Hear me out. Okay. So the outfield is overcrowded, right? Cam Smith can only play the corners. What if you took your starting left fielder and put him at a position where he actually won a Gold Glove at one point? What if you took Jose Altuve and put him at second base where he has some experience, and then you can have Cam Smith in the outfield? What do you think?
I don't disagree, but we're a week away. We're basically a week and a half away from opening day, and they're not playing Jose Altuve at second base at all. We just talked about it.
Maybe we need to tell them. Maybe if you could sneak that along, hey guys, did you remember actually Altuve used to play second base? He could try that again.
I mean, it's not the worst idea in the world. And look, maybe if they get in, maybe if they get into the season and Altuve is worse than we anticipated in left field, and Chas McCormick's not getting it done in right field, or quite frankly, Chas McCormick could be hitting well. Chas McCormick can play left field. If Jose Altuve is not playing well in left field, if they see people are running all over him, maybe they do make that move. And Cam Smith's crushing it in the minor leagues. Maybe they do make that move, and you have a outfield of McCormick, Myers, and Smith. Maybe that is the case, but I think, Tyler, the one thing about this whole thing, and maybe I just read my mentions too much on Twitter, maybe I read my emails too much. Everyone is acting like the opening day roster is this permanent, set in stone. Guys, you can make roster moves. Even if Cam Smith or Zach DeZenzo don't make the opening day roster, that's not some indictment that says they're ticketed for AAA or AA all year.
Yeah, someone's pulling a quad 6 games into the season, and there's plenty of time to bring people up. But it is, I mean, I think it's just it's so unexpected and it's so exciting to have somebody that you had no expectations. I mean, esteemed beat writer Chandler Rome said he had no chance. He was like, Cam Smith is terrible. He's got no chance to make the team. Don't even bother paying attention to this guy. Meanwhile, I'm telling everybody, I think this guy's good. So we'll have to see who's right, Chandler.
I think let's set the record straight. I said it would have to take something catastrophic for Cam Smith to make the opening day roster, and Christian Walker almost straining his oblique would have quantified as catastrophic. But I do wonder, though, Zach DeZenzo has kind of maybe gone under the radar a little bit because everyone has been talking about Cam Smith 24/7. Like Zach DeZenzo very quietly has 1,000 OPS in a team high 35 Grapefruit League at bats. Like they're playing him a lot because they want to see what he can do, and he is producing in every turn. But he has the same problem as Cam Smith. They're basically the same player defensively. Like they are natural left side of the infield guys that are learning to play the corner outfield. And DeZenzo played more corner outfield in Puerto Rico in winter ball this winter. So like he's got more outfield experience than Smith, but he's certainly not a finished product out there. But he's probably more equipped to handle it at the major league level than Smith is at this moment, if we're talking about getting every day at bats somewhere. And, I wonder too, what that means for let's proceed under the opinion that Cam Smith doesn't make the opening day roster and Zach DeZenzo doesn't make the opening day roster. And they kind of go with chalk. They carry Ben Gamble, they carry John Singleton, whoever else. Who cares at this point? Now, the fascinating thing to me would be, how do you divide minor league at bats between those guys when they are playing? They need to be playing the same positions. Like inherently, it kind of means one guy would be blocking the other one from getting at bats at a minor league affiliate. So, and I kind of speculated about this in a story I wrote on Sunday. Like, I wonder if that situation manifests, does Zach DeZenzo go to AAA where he can have the freedom to play both corners, play some third base? And do you send Cam Smith to AA where the pitching in AA is better than it is in AAA? That is now a thing that has become pretty commonly known in the last 5 years. Just there are better prospects and better pitching. You see better pitching in AA normally than you do in AAA. Cam Smith's only played 5 games in AA in his career. Do you send Cam Smith to AA, where he'll have more freedom to do whatever he wants, like move him around wherever they want to move him defensively? And then, if he's hitting 500 within the first 3 weeks, you can move him to AAA and you guys kind of make do there. And then you kind of go from there. Like that's kind of my thought too, is they're two fates. Zach DeZenzo and Cam Smith's fates to me are kind of intertwined, just given how similar their defensive profiles are and how much they're blocked at the major league level from playing the infield. Because Isaac Paredes is here for 3 years. Christian Walker's here for 3 years. Like they're not playing a corner infield spot anytime soon. Like their easiest and quickest path to getting to the big leagues is in a corner outfield spot.
I mean, it's like everyone talked about after the Astros lost Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman, and it's the Astros have too much talent in the outfield and then the corner infield spots. How are they going to manage all of this glut of talent? So it's interesting how quickly things change.
Well, and one other thing about this too, like we were being facetious there. Like they don't have a ton behind these two guys. They are, for all intents and purposes, like Zach DeZenzo and Cam Smith are probably like the Astros' last line of position player defense, depth-wise, for when things go haywire in season, for when there's ineffectiveness, for when there's injuries, anything like that. Like you do run the risk. Like if you carry either of those guys on the opening day roster, like you burn through your last line of defense, and B, you run the risk of like if Cam Smith or Zach DeZenzo starts the year in the big leagues and like they start terribly, if they have a bad April or a bad May, and like you risk cratering their confidence. Like I think both of these kids have great makeups and they wouldn't be that affected by that, but like you always run that risk of like, do you want to jeopardize that setup to where, look, you let Chas McCormick play the first 6 to 7 weeks of the season out, see how it goes, and then you kind of hope those two guys are tearing it up in the minor leagues, and if they force your hand, they force your hand, and then you call them up. So there's a lot of what ifs here, but I think that the gist of it, Tyler, is like they are not carrying either of these guys if there is not a path to everyday at bats for them. And until they decide if they can create that path, then this conversation's kind of meaningless because they're not going to carry them as bench players.
All right, give me some injury updates. Where are we at with Christian Walker and McCullers?
Okay, so Christian Walker is going to get into games this coming weekend. We're recording this on Sunday night. He's going to get into games this coming weekend, according to Joe Espada. They're going to get him some live at-bats on the backfields and in live BPs before that to get his at-bat count up. But the thing you should know about all this is Joe Espada is confident that he will be ready for opening day. They will have him on the active roster. Now, he may be a tad behind. His timing may not be great because he may not get the amount of volume of at-bats that he wanted to in spring training, but the fact that he will be healthy enough to play on opening day, again, barring any setback in the next week and a half, is good news for the Astros. Lance McCullers Jr. Will return to the mound, which is not a sentence that we ever thought we'd say again. Lance will pitch. He will start Tuesday's Grapefruit League game against the Washington Nationals. It is conveniently going to be televised on the Space City Home Network. So everyone can watch Lance McCullers make his first start since Game 3 of the 2022 World Series, a game that we will not rehash in any detail to save you from listening to that. Don't expect Lance to go any more than about if he goes 2 innings, I'd be surprised. He is starting his buildup, and most starters, their first start in spring training is only an inning or 2, 30 to 35 pitches, 1 or 2 innings, whatever he hits first. Tyler, like there's not going to be much we can gain out of a 30-pitch start, out of a 2-inning start. He will face, I presume, most of the Nationals regulars, so it'll be nice to see him, face some actual competition and C.J. Abrams, James Wood, Dylan Cruz, Josh Bell. It'll be nice to see that.
So many people on the Nationals.
Do you know how much Nationals baseball I have to watch in spring training?
Okay, that's too many Nationals. And when you said national regulars, I thought that was a joke. I didn't know that they had regulars.
Do you know how much Marlins and Nationals baseball I have to watch in spring training?
That's a dream right there.
I get way too involved and familiar with teams that should not be familiarized with anyone.
And then you have to read on Twitter people complaining about how bad the Astros are, and you're like,
right,
buddy, I've seen bad out here. Okay,
watch the Marlins play. Like, you think the Astros are bad? Watch the Marlins play.
No, thank you. Pass.
Look, there's not going to be much that we can really substantially gain from watching McCullers in a 1-inning Grapefruit League start, but getting out of it healthy will obviously be key. What
is that timeline then? Like, I mean, is he just like a month behind people who started spring training build up earlier? Is this like a end of April, early May thing if everything goes smoothly?
Well, so he's going to make a start on Tuesday. Presuming he comes out of that okay, you would think he's going to make a start 5 days later, which, if I'm counting in my head right, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that would be Sunday. That would be their last game in West Palm Beach before they head to Houston for 2 games against the Space Cowboys at Dyken Park and then opening day. So maybe he starts again on Sunday, and maybe you see him go, maybe 35 to 50 pitches, 2 to 3 innings. And then they'd send him on a rehab assignment. They'd start him on a rehab assignment in Sugar Land. And this is where you will have a concrete timeline, because pitchers cannot stay on a rehab assignment for more than 30 days. So a clock will start on Lance McCullers once he officially goes on a rehab assignment. If he makes 2 starts in West Palm Beach in Grapefruit League play, at the minimum, I think he would need 3 more in Sugarland or in whatever minor league affiliate they send him to. I think he'd need 3 more starts on rehab, maybe even a 4th. That's kind of dependent on how he feels, but I think you're probably looking at, again, if everything goes right, if there's no setbacks, if there's no injuries, if he feels good, I think you're probably looking at the end of April, early May, probably at the earliest for him to come back, which again, like seems pretty far away, but for how much we have talked about McCullers in the past with no timeline, with no hope, with no kind of thought he'd ever pitch again, to have it now kind of set on a calendar to where you can start mapping out and counting the days. If you count 5 days between each start, you can kind of start to pencil together kind of when he could be back on a major league mound.
Man, I hope he's healthy and he can pitch. I'm rooting for it, both as someone who watches the Astros, but for Lance, I want him to go out and, results be what they may, but I just want him to be able to do it without his body betraying him. So I'm excited. Like you said, I can wait till the end of April, early May. That's not too bad. It feels like a lifetime ago that we saw him pitch. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, I may have said this before, and I think, as you see these, when you do what I do, like you see these people like on a human to human level, like a lot of times fans and what they say, they just kind of see what they are on TV, what they are on social media, what they are in places, and like it's tough for me to look at like how fans have responded to Lance's many setbacks. And look, I get it's frustrating. I get he's making a lot of money. I get it's been a pretty hellacious contract to this point, but like this isn't like this is a guy that's like showing up overweight or that's not trying or that's dogging it or it's just not committed to this. Like, I mean, his body has just betrayed him in ways that we've seen in few other pitchers and really in recent memory that have been with the Astros. I mean, and I know there's people that aren't really a fan of Lance kind of being out there in other business ventures, whether it's in HEB commercials, whether it's, he owns a chain of coffee shops and restaurants now. Like my retort would be, do you want this guy to sit in a dark room and just stare at blank walls for 2 years until he's ready to pitch? Like, these guys are human beings. They should be able to live their lives. They should be able to do what they want to do. I understand it's frustrating that he's not pitching for your favorite team, but just maybe for Lance to, for lack of a better word, to shut some people up, it would be nice. It would be gratifying, I think, for him to come back and to look. I don't think he has to have a sub-3 ERA. I don't think we're even talking about stats here, but just to come, be healthy, pitch in meaningful games, and contribute to this team's trajectory, whatever it may be, I think would be really gratifying for him.
I can't emphasize this enough to fans out there. There's no salary cap in baseball. There's no such thing as a bad contract. You're not paying him. I truly don't care what people are making, especially if they're injured. It's not like you said, it's not like, you sign somebody and they, like somebody on the Angels just decide, they don't want to play anymore. That's not what's happening. That's a bad contract. And that's one that you can get, upset about. But I mean, Lance earned every penny of the contract they gave him. It made a ton of sense at the time. He got hurt. It happens. And commercials take like 6 hours to shoot in the off season. So you just see it a bunch because it keeps coming up on TV. But you'll know he's not in the box, right? He's not filming that every time that it comes on your TV. They already did it earlier.
I think that's lost on a lot of people.
Not living in the little box on your wall.
I think, and I've written this numerous times, that Lance McCullers could not throw another major league pitch. He could not throw another pitch for the Astros. And his legacy in Houston is cemented for what he did in Game 7 of the 2017 ALCS. You could honestly even say when he came back in 2018 to help contribute in the postseason when he had torn his UCL. He came back, pitched out of the bullpen in a couple of those playoff games. And, look, you want to talk about a guy that you question commitment, you question anything, and not you should be like, that should be your foremost understanding that this guy has always been committed. This guy has always trying. It's tough when your body just keeps betraying you. And the one thing you have to have healthy, your right arm, just you can't keep it healthy.
Remember when he had an RBI in the World Series? That was cool.
He's got more World Series RBIs than Mike Trout.
I like that. That's a good one.
He's got more World Series RBIs than a lot of good players.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Greinke too. Zach Greinke didn't have an RBI in the World Series. He had a hit. I do know he has more World Series hits than Mike Trout.
Yeah.
He got a hit up the middle.
That was fun.
In one of those games in Atlanta when no one else could get a hit. Yeah, so we will see Lance McCullers pitch on Tuesday. Who knows who will be playing in the corner outfields behind him? That's still up for debate. Cam Smith is going to keep playing right field in Grapefruit League games, and we'll see if he can hit Major League pitching, which is probably one of the biggest questions to look at in this last week or so of spring training. We will be back to answer them all. We will have Josh Reddick back on with us on Wednesday. Josh, I'm curious to get Josh's thoughts because Josh was on the Space City broadcast when Jose Altuve had that play against the Cardinals. So I'm interested to get Josh's thoughts from a corner outfielder about that play, about what he has seen now that he's gotten some looks at Altuve in live game reps. So we'll get that to you on Wednesday. But before then, if you want to rate and review us on Apple, please do so. If you want to subscribe on YouTube so you can know whenever one of these new ones publishes, we'd appreciate that as well. You can follow us on our social media handles, which are at the bottom of this YouTube video. Thank you again for the support. Thank you again for subscribing, and we'll talk to you guys soon. See you later.
Bye.